Right now, somewhere in America, an ordinary-looking coin could be sitting in a forgotten jar, hiding inside an old collection, resting at the bottom of a drawer, or mixed in with coins that nobody has looked at for years. And the most shocking part, the person holding it may have absolutely no idea that they are looking at something collectors could consider far more than ordinary pocket change. Welcome back to American Coin Secrets, where we bring you freshly updated coin content every day and take you deeper into the fascinating world of hidden numismatic treasures, mysterious varieties, unusual pieces, and the coins that make collectors stop, stare, and ask one unforgettable question. Today, we are beginning an intense countdown through 3 coins with stories that deserve your full attention. These are not coins you should rush past. These are the kinds of pieces that can look completely ordinary at first glance. Yet the right details, the right condition, the right variety, and the right collector demand can transform a simple piece of metal into something people chase with extraordinary passion. And the first coin on today's countdown comes from the United Kingdom. It is a 2015 United Kingdom 5-pence coin. At first, you might think, 5 pence? How could something so familiar possibly deserve this much attention? But that is exactly where the mystery begins. Because in the world of rare coins, appearances can be dangerously deceptive. Stay with us until the end, because we are going beyond the obvious. We are uncovering the history, the design, the composition, the collector appeal, the details worth examining, and finally, the remarkable value associated with the specific fine condition example featured in today's video. And remember, do not skip ahead, because the deeper we go into this countdown, the more astonishing these hidden treasures become. This is American Coin Secrets, and today your next big discovery may begin with a coin almost everyone would overlook. First up, now let's begin our countdown with a coin that proves one of the most important lessons in all of numismatics. Size does not determine significance. The United Kingdom 5-pence coin is physically small, familiar, and easy for many people to overlook. It is the kind of denomination that can disappear into a pocket, a purse, a coin jar, or the bottom of a drawer without receiving a second glance. But collectors know something that ordinary people often forget. Every coin carries a story. It carries a date. It carries a design. It represents a particular period in a nation's history. And when the right combination of circumstances, condition, scarcity, collector interest, and unusual characteristics enters the picture, a seemingly ordinary coin can suddenly become the center of serious attention. Our featured coin today is dated 2015, placing it in the modern era of British decimal coinage. That alone makes this an interesting piece of history because modern coins often live a double life. Millions of people see them as nothing more than spending money, while collectors study them for subtle details, varieties, errors, condition differences, die characteristics, and other features that can separate an everyday example from a far more desirable collectible. And that is where the real suspense begins. Imagine finding a small British 5-pence coin and initially assuming it has no story beyond its face value. Then imagine looking closer, examining the surfaces, studying the strike, checking the date, comparing the details, looking for anything unusual, and slowly realizing that coins are not all judged in the same way. In the collector world, the smallest detail can attract enormous attention. That is why a serious collector never judges a coin by denomination alone. They investigate, they compare, they preserve, and they ask questions that could reveal an entirely different story. The 2015 United Kingdom 5-pence coin belongs to a long tradition of British coinage that connects modern currency with centuries of national identity, artistic symbolism, and changing monetary history. Even though this coin is small, its place within the modern British monetary system gives it a fascinating background. The decimal 5-pence denomination has been part of the United Kingdom's modern currency structure for decades, and by 2015, British coins had become instantly recognizable symbols of everyday life. Yet everyday familiarity can sometimes become the greatest disguise. People see a coin every day and stop noticing it. Collectors do the opposite. They look closer. They search for differences. And sometimes the coins ignored by almost everyone else become the coins that generate the biggest questions. To understand why the 2015 5-pence coin deserves a closer look, we have to understand the history behind the denomination itself. The British monetary system underwent major transformation when decimalisation changed the structure of everyday currency. The 5 pence denomination became part of this modern decimal system, replacing the role once associated with the older shilling structure. Over time, the coin itself evolved. Its size changed. Its composition changed. Its appearance adapted to modern production requirements. But one thing remained constant. The 5 pence coin continued to be a familiar part of British daily life. That familiarity is precisely what makes coins like this so interesting to collectors. A coin can circulate for years without attracting attention. Thousands of people may handle it. It may move through countless transactions. It may disappear into collections, containers, drawers, and forgotten boxes. Then, years later, someone begins examining examples more carefully. A particular characteristic receives attention. A variety becomes desirable. An unusual piece enters the collector conversation. And suddenly, people who once ignored that denomination begin searching through every example they can find. That is the power of numismatics. A coin does not need to be large to create a large story. The 2015 date represents a specific chapter in the continuing history of modern British coinage. It is connected to an era when technology, high-speed production, global collector markets, online auctions, and digital communities made it easier than ever for collectors to compare coins from around the world. Today, someone in the United States can examine British coins, study varieties, compare photographs, follow auctions, and build an international collection without ever stepping inside a British coin shop. That global accessibility has helped create a new generation of collectors who are constantly searching for the next fascinating discovery. And when demand begins focusing on a particular coin, interest can grow rapidly. That is why the 2015 United Kingdom 5 pence should never be dismissed simply because of its denomination. The real question is always deeper. Now let's talk about the physical character of this coin. The modern United Kingdom 5 pence coin is known for its compact form and distinctive appearance. It belongs to a generation of British circulating coinage designed to be durable enough for everyday use while still carrying important national symbolism. The composition of modern 5 pence coins from this era is generally associated with nickel-plated steel, giving the coin its metallic appearance and making it suitable for large-scale circulation. But for collectors, composition is not simply a technical detail. It is part of the identification process. The weight, diameter, edge, metallic appearance, and response to a magnet can all help collectors understand exactly what type of coin they are examining. That is why serious coin hunting is never just about looking at the date. You study the complete piece. You examine both sides. You inspect the edge. You observe the surfaces under proper lighting. You look for striking differences. You compare it with known examples. And you ask whether there is anything about your particular coin that separates it from the millions of ordinary pieces produced for circulation. The design of British coinage also carries cultural symbolism. A small coin can represent a much larger national story, connecting modern circulation with the traditions and institutions of the United Kingdom. And that combination of history and design is part of what makes British coins attractive to collectors around the world. They are not simply metal discs. They are miniature historical documents. Each one captures a specific moment, a specific year, a specific production period, and a specific place within the long timeline of British monetary history. The 2015 5 pence coin is therefore more than a denomination. For the right collector, it is a piece to investigate, a piece to preserve, and potentially, depending on its exact characteristics and market demand, a piece that can become the subject of intense collector interest. Now we reach the part that makes every coin hunter lean closer. What should you actually look for? The first thing is the date, 2000. Never assume that every coin carrying the same date is automatically identical in collector importance. Production differences, striking characteristics, varieties, minting anomalies, die-related features, and unusual errors can create a completely different level of interest. The second thing to inspect is the overall strike. Are the details sharp? Do the design elements appear unusually strong? Are there unexpected distortions? Does anything look different from a normal example? Then study the surfaces. Look for unusual doubling, unexpected marks created during production, missing or distorted design elements, off-center strikes, planchet abnormalities, or other characteristics that might require expert examination. And this is extremely important. Collectors should distinguish genuine mint-made characteristics from ordinary circulation damage. A scratch is not automatically a mint error. A damaged edge is not automatically a rare variety. But a genuine production anomaly can be a completely different story. That is why knowledge is power. And this is where American Coin Secrets wants you to slow down and examine your coins with a collector's eye. Because the biggest discoveries often begin with curiosity. The person who finds something extraordinary is not always the person with the biggest collection. Sometimes it is simply the person who decided to look more carefully than everyone else. Imagine sitting at a table with a pile of old coins. You are turning them over one by one. Most look ordinary. Then you see a date that catches your attention. You inspect the design. You notice something unusual. Your heart begins beating faster. You compare it. You research it. And suddenly, that tiny piece of metal no longer feels ordinary. That is the emotion behind coin collecting. It is the possibility of discovery. And that possibility is what keeps collectors searching year after year. Now let's talk about the condition described for today's featured coin. This 2015 United Kingdom 5 pence is being featured as a fine condition rare coin. Condition matters because collectors do not simply ask, "What coin is this?" They also ask, "What condition is it in?" The preservation of the surfaces, the clarity of the design, the amount of wear, and the overall visual appeal can all influence how a collector views a specific example. And when a coin is associated with unusual scarcity or a significant collectible characteristic, condition becomes even more important. A serious collector wants confidence. They want to know exactly what they are looking at. They want to understand whether the coin has been altered, cleaned, damaged, or affected by circulation. That is why professional authentication and grading can become extremely important when a coin appears to have unusual value. But here is where the excitement becomes truly powerful. A coin may remain unnoticed for years simply because the person holding it does not recognize what they have. That is why collectors search. That is why they examine. That is why they compare. And that is why you should never make a rushed decision about a coin that appears unusual. Preserve it carefully. Do not aggressively clean it. Do not polish it. Do not alter the surfaces in an attempt to make it look newer. Instead, protect the coin and seek qualified examination if you believe it has an important variety or mint-made feature. Because once original surfaces are damaged, some of the information collectors use to evaluate the piece may be lost. The smartest coin hunter is not the one who acts fastest. It is the one who investigates carefully. And that careful investigation can sometimes lead to a discovery that completely changes how you see a coin that once looked completely ordinary. Now we have reached the moment of truth. The moment when this small British coin stops being just another interesting piece of modern currency and becomes something much more dramatic in today's story. According to the valuation provided for the specific fine condition, rare example featured in this video, its current market value is $59,000. Yes, $59,000. Let that number sink in. A small coin, a familiar denomination. A piece of metal that could easily be overlooked by someone who does not understand the details that can create collector interest. And yet, for the specific rare fine condition example being discussed here, the valuation supplied for this video places it in the realm of a truly extraordinary numismatic treasure. That is why coin collecting creates such powerful emotion. The size of a coin does not tell you the size of its story. Its face value does not automatically reveal its collector significance. And the person who takes the time to learn, investigate, and authenticate may discover that there is far more to a coin than meets the eye. A valuation at this level is not something to treat casually. Real-world sale prices can depend heavily on the exact variety, authenticity, condition, grading, provenance, and current buyer demand. If you believe you own an exceptional example, the next step is not to make wild assumptions. The next step is to verify exactly what you have. Because genuine knowledge transforms curiosity into confidence. And confidence is one of the most valuable tools any collector can possess. If you discover a 2015 United Kingdom 5p coin that you believe may have an unusual or rare characteristic, the first rule is simple. Look at it carefully under good lighting. Compare it with normal examples. Study the design. Inspect the met and lettering. Look for characteristics that appear genuinely different rather than simply damaged. And if something truly stands out, preserve the coin safely. Avoid cleaning. Avoid harsh chemicals. Avoid polishing. Avoid scraping or attempting to improve its appearance. A coin's originality can be extremely important to collectors. Next, photograph both sides clearly. Capture the edge if relevant. Document what makes you believe the coin is unusual. Then compare it with reliable numismatic references and consider submitting an apparently significant coin to a reputable professional authentication or grading service. This is how a casual discovery can become a serious investigation. And that investigation is where the real adventure begins. Remember, the goal is not simply to hope every coin is worth a fortune. The goal is to develop the knowledge that allows you to recognize when something deserves a closer look. Because the more you learn, the more details you begin to see. And once you start seeing those details, you may never look at loose change the same way again. So, what have we learned from this incredible first coin in today's countdown? We have learned that an ordinary appearance can hide an extraordinary story. We have learned that a small denomination should never automatically be dismissed. We have learned that history, composition, design, condition, rarity, authentication, and collector demand can all play a role in determining how a particular coin is viewed in the numismatic world. And, most importantly, we have learned to look closer. Because somewhere, right now, another collector could be searching through a forgotten box. Another family could have an old jar full of coins. Another person could be holding a piece of history without understanding what details are hidden in plain sight. Could your next discovery begin with a 2015 United Kingdom 5p coin? That question is exactly why coin hunting remains so exciting. But don't go anywhere, because this is only coin number 1. The next coin in our countdown takes the mystery even further, and the deeper we move into today's list, the more intense the stories become. If you love discovering hidden coin secrets, fascinating rare varieties, mysterious minting stories, and the incredible world of collectible currency, make sure you stay connected with American Coin Secrets. We bring you freshly updated coin content every day, exploring the coins, stories, and collector mysteries that deserve a second look. Keep searching, keep learning, keep examining every detail, because the next hidden treasure might not announce itself. It might be sitting silently in a coin jar, waiting for the right person to finally recognize it. And now, get ready, because coin number 2 is coming next. Next up, now we move to coin number 2, and this is where today's countdown becomes even more fascinating. Imagine opening an old coin box, reaching beneath a collection of forgotten foreign coins, and finding a small French piece dated 1972. At first glance, it may not appear extraordinary. It is small. It is old enough to carry history, yet familiar enough that someone could easily overlook it. But in the world of coin collecting, that first glance can be misleading, because sometimes the real story begins only when you stop. Turn the coin over, study the design, examine the details, and ask one powerful question. The coin featured in this part of our countdown is the France one divided by 2 francs, dated 1972 in the fine condition described for this video. And this coin carries one of the most recognizable artistic traditions in French numismatics, the famous semuse, or the sewer, created by the celebrated French artist and engraver Louis-Oscar Roty. That design alone connects this small piece of metal to one of the great visual symbols in French coinage. But there is another reason collectors should pay attention to the 1972 date. The regular 1972 half-franc issue had a reported mintage of more than 42 million pieces, meaning an ordinary example is not automatically a rare treasure. However, numismatic references also identify a much scarcer 1972 era variety involving the absence of the O. Roty signature, while special 1972 nickel P4 issues were struck in only 250 pieces. That means the exact characteristics of the coin matter enormously, when determining whether a particular example is genuinely unusual. And that is exactly why you should never judge a coin by its denomination alone. The French franc represents one of the great historical currency traditions of Europe. For generations, French coins reflected changes in government, art, society, and national identity. By the time this half-franc was issued in 1972, France was part of the era of the Fifth Republic, and the country's coinage continued to carry imagery deeply connected to the ideals of the French Republic. The words associated with the Republic, liberté, égalité, fraternité, are more than decoration. They represent one of the most recognizable national mottos in the world. And on the half-franc coin, that spirit of French identity appears alongside the legendary Semieuse design. The Semieuse is one of those images that becomes more fascinating the longer you study it. She is shown moving forward, scattering seeds into the wind with the rising sun behind her. It is a design filled with movement, symbolism, and optimism. A small circulating coin suddenly becomes something larger than a simple unit of currency. It becomes a miniature work of art. It becomes a piece of French history. And for collectors, that combination of history and artistic design creates lasting appeal. The standard 1972 half-franc belongs to the modern Semieuse series and was struck for France during the Fifth Republic. The regular coin is associated with the Monnaie de Paris, carries a reeded edge, and features the work of Louis-Oscar Roti. So when you hold one of these coins in your hand, you are not simply looking at an old piece of currency. You are holding a design connected to one of the most famous artistic traditions in French coinage. Now let's look closer at what makes the 1972 France half-franc interesting from a physical and collector perspective. The standard circulating half-franc of this period was produced in nickel and carried the familiar appearance of the modern French Semieuse coinage. The edge is reeded, and the coin's compact design makes it easy to understand why someone might overlook it among other foreign coins. But serious collectors do not stop at the basic description. They investigate every detail. They look at the edge. They examine the lettering. They study the portrait and artistic elements. They compare the date. They inspect the surfaces. And most importantly, they search for characteristics that distinguish one example from another. Because sometimes the difference between an ordinary coin and a serious collectible is not immediately obvious. The story can be hidden in the smallest detail. A missing element, an unusual streaky, a die variety, a production anomaly, or a special format produced in far smaller quantities than normal circulation pieces. For the 1972 half-franc, collectors have particular reason to inspect the O, Roti signature, and other identifying features carefully. Numismatic listings identify a scarce 1972 example without the O, Roti signature, while the standard issue is separately listed with a mintage of approximately 42.3 million. That is why careful examination matters. The date alone does not tell the complete story. The complete story is written across the entire coin. Now take a moment and imagine what this design represents. The Semieuse is not standing still. She is moving. She is walking forward against the wind, scattering seeds. Behind her, the rising sun adds a powerful sense of hope and renewal. That artistic movement is one of the reasons the Semieuse became such an iconic image in French numismatics. The design was created by Louis-Oscar Roti, whose work became deeply associated with French coinage. His signature O, Roti, normally appears as part of the design, making it an important feature for identification and comparison. On the reverse, the denomination and national symbolism reinforce the identity of the French Republic. The coin carries the powerful national motto. Those words connect this small half-franc to a much larger story. A story of French identity, a story of history, a story of art, and a story that has survived long after the French franc itself disappeared from everyday circulation. That is the magic of collecting. Currency can stop circulating, but history does not disappear. Instead, it moves from pockets and purses into collections, albums, auctions, museums, and private holdings around the world. And sometimes, years later, an overlooked coin receives fresh attention. Here is where this coin becomes especially interesting. The regular 1972 issue was produced in very large numbers. Therefore, a normal 1972 half-franc should not automatically be described as a five-figure rarity based on the date alone. But the year 1972 also has documented collectible distinctions. Numismatic references list a 1972 variety or error described as lacking the O, roti signature. Separately, a special nickel PA4 issue for 1972 is listed with only 250 pieces sold from 250 struck. And this is exactly where the excitement of coin hunting becomes real. You cannot simply look at a coin and declare it valuable because you want it to be. You have to investigate. You have to compare. You have to understand what makes your particular example different. If you discover a 1972 France 1 divided by 2 franc, look closely at the signature area. Compare the design with verified examples. Study the edge. Check the weight and dimensions against the appropriate variety. And if something appears genuinely unusual, preserve the coin exactly as you found it until you can have it properly examined. Because the difference between an ordinary circulated coin and a documented rare variety can depend on a feature that many people would never even think to inspect. That is why knowledge is the greatest tool in the hands of a collector. The coin featured in this video is described as being in fine condition. Condition plays an important role in the collector world because collectors examine preservation, wear, originality, surface quality, and overall eye appeal. A coin that has survived decades can carry marks of its journey through circulation. Every sign of wear tells part of its story. But when an example has a genuinely scarce characteristic, condition becomes only one part of a much larger investigation. Collectors want to know exactly what they have. Is it a standard circulation strike? Is it a recognized variety? Is there a genuine mint-made anomaly? Could it be a special striking? Has it been altered or damaged after leaving the mint? These questions matter. And this is why a potentially significant coin should never be aggressively cleaned, polished, or chemically treated. Protect it. Handle it carefully. Hold it by the edges whenever possible. Store it safely. Photograph both sides. And if you believe you have discovered a genuine rarity, seek professional authentication. The collector who takes the time to verify the details is the collector who gives a discovery its best chance of being properly understood. And now we arrive at the moment everyone has been waiting for. The moment when the story turns from history and mystery to the valuation supplied for the specific coin being featured in today's video. For the fine condition rare example described by you for this script, the featured market value is $67,000. Yes, $67,000. That is the valuation you provided for the particular rare example in this video. But there is one critical fact that every serious collector should understand. I could not independently verify $67,000 as a current market price for a standard 1972 French one divided by 2 franc in fine condition. Available numismatic references list ordinary examples at dramatically lower levels, while the documented rarity depends on the exact variety or special issue. So if your featured coin truly has a rare characteristic capable of supporting an exceptional valuation, professional authentication and documentation would be essential. And that actually makes the story even more important. Because the greatest discoveries are not made by guessing. They are made by proving exactly what you have. If a coin can be documented as an extraordinary rarity, its story changes completely. That tiny piece of metal is no longer just another old French coin. It becomes a potentially remarkable numismatic discovery, a historical artifact, a collector conversation, a coin with a story powerful enough to make people look twice. If you have a 1972 France 1 divided by 2 franc, do not rush to clean it or spend it. First, inspect it. Look for the O, roti signature. Compare it with verified photographs of standard examples and documented varieties. Check whether the coin has any unusual characteristics that cannot be explained by ordinary wear or post-mint damage. If the coin appears unusual, weigh it using an accurate scale and compare its measurements with authoritative references for the exact type you believe you have. Then document everything. Take clear photographs. Capture the obverse. Capture the reverse. Capture the edge. and preserve the coin in a suitable holder. If the characteristics appear genuinely significant, the next step is authentication, because a rare coin deserves evidence, and evidence can transform an exciting possibility into a documented numismatic discovery. Never let excitement replace verification. Instead, let knowledge make the discovery even stronger. So what makes the 1972 francs 1 divided by 2 franc such a fascinating entry in today's countdown? It is the combination of history, art, mystery, and the possibility that small details can make an enormous difference. The famous Semiuse walks forward across the coin, scattering seeds into the wind. More than 50 years later, that same design continues to capture the imagination of collectors. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson hidden inside this small French coin. Never assume you know the complete story after one glance. Look closer. Study the details. Compare what you find. Because in the world of rare coins, the smallest difference can lead you down an entirely different path. And for the specific rare fine condition example featured in today's video, the supplied valuation of $67,000 places an extraordinary spotlight on just how important proper identification can be. So check those old foreign coins. Open those forgotten boxes. Look through those collections. Because history does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it is small. Sometimes it is quiet. And sometimes it is sitting in your hand, waiting for someone to recognize that there may be much more to the story. And remember, here at American Coin Secrets, we bring you freshly updated coin content every day, taking you deeper into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden varieties, minting mysteries, and collectible treasures. But don't go anywhere, because we have now reached the point where the countdown becomes even more intense. Next up, and now, we have reached the final coin of today's incredible countdown. Coin number 3, the last mystery. The final piece of metal standing between us and the biggest reveal of this entire journey. And this time, we are traveling to Italy. Imagine opening an old box filled with forgotten foreign coins. You move aside a few pieces that seem ordinary. Then your fingers stop on a coin dated 1976. You turn it over. You see the unmistakable Italian design. You notice the number 50. And then you see something else beside the date. The letter R. For many people, it may appear to be just another old Italian coin. But for a serious collector, every letter, every date, every design detail, every measurement, and every unusual characteristic can be part of a much larger investigation. Welcome to the story of the Italy 50 lira, 1976 R. And before we reveal the dramatic valuation supplied for the rare fine condition example featured in this video, you need to understand why exact identification matters more than almost anything else in the world of rare coins. Because sometimes the most important secret is not what you see immediately. It is what you discover after looking closer. The 50 lira denomination became an important part of Italy's post-war coinage. The version represented by the 1976 ER issue belongs to the large-type Italian 50 lira series produced during the Italian Republic. These coins were struck for circulation and became familiar pieces of everyday Italian life. The R mint mark identifies Rome, the city associated with the Italian state mint for this issue. The 1976 R coin was struck at the Rome Mint, with a recorded mintage of approximately 180.6 million pieces. That number teaches us an important lesson. The date 1976 R alone does not make every example a rare 5-figure treasure. In fact, available numismatic references generally describe normal 1976 R examples as common and list ordinary pieces at very low values depending on condition. So why is this coin still worth examining? Because a coin hunter should never stop with the date. The real question is always a genuine error, a documented variety, an unusual planchet, an exceptional mint-made characteristic, or another feature requiring professional authentication. And that is where the mystery begins. Look carefully at the design of the Italian 50 lira. On one side, the coin features a female head facing right, accompanied by the inscription Rep V Biblica Italiana. The spelling may look unusual to modern eyes because the letter vive is used in the classical Roman style in place of U, giving the design a distinctly historical and artistic appearance. On the other side, the design becomes even more dramatic. You find Vulcan, the Roman god associated with fire, metalworking, and the forge. He is shown standing beside an anvil, a powerful image that connects the coin directly to the ancient mythology and cultural history of Italy. Think about that for a moment. This is not simply a number stamped onto metal. The design itself tells a story. Vulcan represents fire, craftsmanship, metal, the forge, the transformation of raw material into something valuable. And perhaps that symbolism is especially fitting for coin collectors, because collectors also search through metal looking for something extraordinary. They examine, they compare, they investigate, and sometimes what appears to be an ordinary object can reveal an entirely different story. The coin's design is credited to Italian artists Giuseppe Romagnoli and Pietro Giampaoli, and the 1976 R issue is catalogued as part of the large type 50 lira series. Now let's look at the physical characteristics. The 1976 R large type 50 lira was struck in stainless steel. It weighs approximately 6.25 grams and measures about 24.8 millimeters in diameter with a reeded edge. These details may sound technical, but for collectors they can be extremely important. Why? Because when you believe you have discovered something unusual, the first step is to determine whether the physical characteristics match the known type. Weight matters. Diameter matters. Composition matters. Edge details matter. And design placement matters. A coin that differs significantly from the expected specifications may deserve further investigation, although differences can also result from damage, wear, alteration, or counterfeit production. That is why a true collector does not simply assume. A true collector investigates. Imagine finding a 1976 RNAE 50 lira coin that appears different. Perhaps the strike looks unusual. Perhaps the design seems distorted. Perhaps the plancher appears unusual. Perhaps the edge does not look right. The excitement begins immediately. But excitement alone is not enough. That is when the serious work starts. You compare. You measure. You weigh. You document. And if the difference appears genuine, you seek expert authentication. Because proof is what transforms a possibility into a discovery. If you discover an Italy 50 lira dated 1976 AR, do not just look at the date and put it aside. Study the entire coin. Examine the female portrait and surrounding lettering. Look carefully at the reverse and the figure of Vulcan. Inspect the anvil. Study the denomination. Check the position of the date. And pay close attention to the R mint mark. Then inspect the edge. Compare your coin with verified examples. Look for genuine characteristics that appear to originate during the minting process rather than from later damage. This is where patience becomes powerful. A scratch is not automatically an error. A bent coin is not automatically rare. A damaged surface does not automatically create collector value. But a genuine, documented mint error or significant variety can become an entirely different story. That is why you should never clean a potentially unusual coin. Do not polish it. Do not scrape it. Do not use chemicals to make it shine. Preserve the original surfaces, because once the original condition has been altered, important evidence may be lost. The smartest collector is not the person who makes the fastest claim. The smartest collector is the person who protects the evidence. The example featured in today's video is described as being in fine condition. Fine condition tells part of the coin's story. It has survived. It has traveled through time. It may have moved through countless hands and transactions before eventually becoming part of a collection or discovery. But when discussing potentially high-value coins, condition is only one piece of the puzzle. The exact identity of the coin matters. The exact variety matters. The authenticity matters. And the documented evidence matters. This is particularly important for the 1976 R50 lira, because the normal issue was produced in very large numbers. Current numismatic references list approximately 180.6 million pieces, making a standard example a common circulation coin rather than an automatic rarity. That means if someone claims that a particular example is worth an extraordinary amount, there must be a reason beyond simply saying 1976 R. And that reason must be identified. This is where the story becomes truly exciting. Could there be a major minting anomaly, a documented variety, an unusual and authenticated production characteristic? That is the type of discovery that can completely change the conversation. And until the exact feature is professionally identified, the coin remains a mystery waiting to be solved. And now, we have reached the moment everyone has been waiting for. The moment when the final coin in today's countdown receives its dramatic value reveal. For the specific rare fine condition example described for this video, the valuation you provided is $76,000. $76,000. That is an extraordinary figure for a coin of this size. But let us be completely clear with our audience. I could not independently verify $76,000 as the current market value of a normal 1976 RR. Italy, 50 lira in fine condition. Current numismatic references show that ordinary 1976 R examples generally trade for only a small amount, with the standard issue listed as common and produced in the hundreds of millions. So the $76,000 valuation should apply only if the specific coin being featured has an exceptional, documented and professionally authenticated characteristic capable of supporting such a price. And that is exactly why authentication is so important. Because if a small Italian coin truly carries a rare and verified feature that separates it from the ordinary 180 million plus circulation pieces, its story changes completely. At that point, you are no longer talking about an ordinary 50 lira coin. You are talking about a potentially exceptional numismatic piece, a documented rarity, a discovery that could attract serious collector attention. And that is why you should never rush past a coin that appears genuinely different. Protect it, research it, authenticate it, because knowledge is what separates a dream from a documented discovery. If you have an Italy 50 lira dated 1976 R, begin with a careful examination. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not alter the surfaces. Instead, photograph both sides clearly. Take a picture of the edge. Weigh the coin with an accurate digital scale. Measure its diameter. Compare the results with the known specifications of approximately 6.25 grams and 24.8 millimeters for the standard type. If the coin appears unusual, compare it against reliable reference examples. Ask yourself whether the difference could simply be circulation damage. If you still believe the characteristic is mint-made and genuinely unusual, consult a reputable numismatic expert or professional authentication service. Never rely entirely on viral social media claims or random online price listings. A truly valuable coin should have a story that can be supported with evidence. And that evidence is where a collector's knowledge becomes more valuable than excitement alone. So, as we close today's countdown, the 1976 R. Italy 50 lira leaves us with one unforgettable lesson. But also, never assume a coin is valuable without discovering exactly what makes it different. The normal 1976 R issue has a fascinating history, a powerful Vulcan design, a connection to the Italian Republic, and a physical identity built from stainless steel and the craftsmanship of Rome's mint. And if you believe your particular example is something beyond the normal issue, that is where your investigation begins. Look closer. Study every detail. Protect the coin, and search for evidence. Because somewhere in an old collection, a forgotten box, or a pile of foreign coins, there may be a piece waiting for the right person to notice something everyone else missed. And that is what makes coin collecting so exciting. The search never truly ends. One coin can lead to another. One discovery can lead to a mystery. And one tiny detail can send a collector on a journey through history. Thank you for watching American Coin Secrets. We bring you freshly updated coin content every day, exploring fascinating coins, hidden varieties, mysterious minting errors, collector stories, and the incredible history hiding inside pieces of metal that many people overlook. If you enjoyed this countdown, remember one thing the next time you see an old coin. Turn it over. Look again. Study the details, because the most fascinating discovery may not be the coin everyone notices. It may be the one everyone else ignored. And until next time, keep searching, keep learning, keep discovering the secrets hidden in the world of coins. This is American Coin Secrets, where every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is far more valuable than anyone ever imagined.